Alrighty, good morning, scholars. It is Miss J coming to you live and direct straight from the man cave. I'm not in the kitchen today, I'm in the man cave. And today is our second video for our homeschool instruction. Just a friendly reminder for those that are just now joining us, the packet that we're using is the Tennessee Comprehensive Assessment Program, ELA Practice Test Subpart 1 and 2. This link was included in the dojo, and if you are not a part of the dojo community, parents, don't fret. If you Google this title, it'll pop up as a PDF. And if you don't have a printer, students can actually just download it on their cell phones and write their responses on a sheet of notebook paper. So I don't want to hold you guys. Let's go ahead and let's get into today's instruction. The other day when we met, we completed our sample question 3 from subpart 2 of the test. So now we're going to go into the first piece of text, and I noticed that there are like maybe 11 questions that go with this particular pieces of text. Is actually 2 pieces of text. And so we're going to work through the first 5 on today, and we will finish the remaining 5 on tomorrow, because I know the kids still have to get their computer interventions done for both reading and math. Okay, so if you look, I've already annotated, I've underlined my title, and I've notated that the potter and the washerman, that's the topic of discussion. And since I see 2 characters here, that lets me know this is a piece of literature and there's some type of conflict that's going to be involved with these 2 characters. I did that exact same thing for the second piece of text. If you look, I underlined that title. And we always try to make an educated guess or an inference on what we think the text is going to be about. So based on this, I see there are 2 characters. That lets me know that this too is a piece of literature, and there's going to be a conflict between the royal artist and the king. So before we actually begin answering the questions, I always encourage my students to unpack their questions first. So we're going to quickly go through that process together. So it says in passage 1, how is the potter different in the first part of the story compared to how he is in the second part? So passage 1 is where to look. The potter is the subject of this question. And the reason that we select potter is because when we're looking for an answer, we want to make sure that our answer references the correct character. Now, this one is fairly easy, but sometimes students get tripped up on this because they're not paying attention to the subject of the question and making sure that they find an answer that has that same subject. So if it's asking you about the potter, we want to make sure that we circle a response that pertains to the potter, okay? And then different, we want to know how he's not the same. From the first part of the story, that's the beginning, to the second part of the story, that's the end. Okay, so we're looking at a shift in something that he says or something that he does. Now, if you notice, this is a part A, part B question. And part A, most of the time, is a main idea or something that's really, really prevalent to the text. And then part B oftentimes is the evidence or supporting detail. So our strategy for this is to pair the answer choices. And I'll demonstrate that for you momentarily. Now let's unpack this question. It says select 2 sentences. I will circle 2 because that lets me know in this one I need 2 answers from the passage that support, back up your response. So this basically is saying, give me 2 pieces of proof, okay? So now let's look at the next set of questions. And again, we're going to stop. I put a little note here. Stop at number 5. Okay, so number 2 says in passage 1, this is where to look. It's telling you exactly which text to reference, which word best helps the reader understand the meaning. Okay, understand means to know. meaning is definition. And porcelain is the word of question. Now, since we're looking for a definition, this is a vocabulary question, and we have a couple of strategies we can use for that. So we can either use context clues, and that's where you look at the sentence in front of and the sentence behind the one that has the word in it, and you try to see if you can figure out, well, actually, you're digging to see if the author gives you a clue or definition, synonym or antonym that pertains to that word. And then we have another strategy that's called plug, chug, check. And with that strategy, basically what we do is we find the sentence that has this word in it, and we plug all of these words in to see which one makes the most sense, okay? Then number 3, how does the narrator is the storyteller. And that's a tricky one because the narrator could be a person that's in the text. The narrator could be someone who's simply observing. Okay, so we want to make sure that we know whose point of view this text is being told from. Okay, so how does the narrator's statement about the potter never being seen again help reveal the thing? So how does what the storyteller says about the potter, this is the character of reference, help reveal. When you reveal something, you show it. Help show the theme. And theme is the lesson learned. That's the lesson. So we go back and reread this question. It's saying, how does the storyteller, or how does what the storyteller says about this particular character help us figure out what the lesson learned is? Okay. He's going to say something to this character. Well, what he says is, the potter was never seen again. How does that help us figure out the theme? What is the relationship between that and the lesson learned from the text? Okay. And then the last question in passage 1, again, that's where to look. How are the actions? Actions is what the characters do. Of the potter and the washerman. So here we're talking about both characters. Alike. So how are what the characters do the same? How's that stuff the same? Okay. So now I've unpacked my questions and I am ready to begin answering them. So it says, first question. It says in passage 1, how is the potter different in the beginning than he is in the end? So we need to go to passage 1. And as you can see, here's my passage 2. I'm going to put this to the side because I don't need that right now. So what I'm looking for is I am going to find things that let me know about the potter at the beginning of the text. And then I'm going to look towards the middle to the end of the text to see what he does that is different. How is he different from beginning to end? Okay. So the potter at the beginning, he made his living creating pottery. So I know he was artistic. He created pottery. And then I know that he went to the palace to talk to the king, saying, I would like to help my neighbor improve his business. So he seems like he's helpful. He is my neighbor and I want what's best for him. We already know this. I ain't asked you to find what's best for me, but you're doing it anyway. Okay. And then let's look a little bit further. The king considers his request. The potter was summoned before the king. So here's where the king explains this to the washerman. They decide how they're going to help. Blah, 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 blah. And then we're looking for where the potter has this thought. He decided he had one choice. He leaves the palace and was never seen again. Okay, so we need to go back because this is the end of the text. So we need to go up here and see what is it that the potter was trying to do. Okay. So basically up here it says, help the washerman ruin himself. So he was actually playing a trick on the washerman. And here I am flattered by the washerman's request. This is the potter who's talking. So let's kind of go back to make sure we didn't miss anything. Everywhere we see where the potter's doing something, we need to make sure we annotate that. So there was a potter who made beautiful pottery. Both did well on their trades. Oh, we forgot something. However, the potter became jealous because he worried that the washerman was more successful than he was. So he decided on a secret plan to ruin him. So that was really important. So I'm glad we went back to that before we went to the question. So then here's where the potter asked the king about the thing, about the plan, saying that he wants to help the washerman. Then here's where he tells the king, I just want what's best for him, blah, blah, blah. And then here's where he hopes nobody ruins his plan. And then here is where things really begin to unfold, where the potter is kind of caught in a fib. And then here's where he leaves and he does not come back. So let's go to the question based on the information that we have. It says, and we have to look at both parts of this. If one part is correct, but the other part is not, we have got to eliminate it because it won't be accurate, okay? So the first sentence says, in the first part of the story, the potter wants to help his neighbor. Well, that part is true. In the second part of the story, he no longer is able to. That's not true. He can help, but he gets caught in a field. So we got to eliminate A because that second part is incorrect. In the first part of the story, the potter is selfish, but in the second part of the story, he no longer is. So in the first part of the story, yes, he is selfish and he's very jealous. So that part is correct. But in the second part, he's no longer jealous. Nope, that's incorrect because the potter was jealous the entire time. He was selfish the entire time. His whole plan was to ruin his neighbor. So that one's incorrect also. In the first part of the story, the potter wants to help the king. This is incorrect because he wasn't trying to help the king. He was trying to help the washerman. So we don't even need to continue reading that one because the first part of that is incorrect. So our last answer choice. In the first part of the story, the potter wants to hurt his neighbor. That's correct. But in the second part of the story, he no longer thinks it's possible. He doesn't. And so that's the reason that he runs away and he's never seen again. Now, I'm going to circle my answer choice. I'm selecting answer choice D. And then I'm going to look at part B. Now, when I'm doing part B, it's very important that I pair my answer choices. Miss Johnson, what does it mean? So the first thing I need to do is I need to find evidence of the first part of the sentence. The potter wants to hurt his neighbor. I need to find an answer choice that shows something that the potter does or says to hurt his neighbor. Okay? So A says he decided on a secret plan to ruin him. Is that what he did to hurt his neighbor? Yes. So I'm pairing this part to A. So I have my first answer. Now I'm going to go up and try to find evidence for the second part. He no longer thinks it is possible. So now I need to find a piece of evidence which backs up. Okay, at first I wanted to hurt you, but now I can't. It's impossible now because I've been caught. I have a simple request, Your Majesty. Well, this is not showing him not thinking it's possible. This was at the beginning when he tried to give him his plan. I will consider your request, said the king. This question, I'm sorry, this answer choice is not about the potter. Remember, we're looking for actions about the potter. This one is about the king. So I'm going to eliminate that. Then this one is about what the porcelain bowl looked like. Okay? This is about the porcelain bowl, not about the potter. So I'm going to eliminate that. This too is about the porcelain bowl, not about the potter. So I'm going to eliminate that. And then this one says the potter gave great thought to his options, and he decided he only had one choice. He left the palace and was never seen again. This matches. I don't think it's possible. Okay? I'm out of options, so I am going to leave and never come back. So that is what it looks like to pair your answer choices. Okay? So now let's look at the next one. In passage 1. Okay, so in the text about the potter and the washerman, which word best helps the reader understand the meaning of the word porcelain? So what we need to do is we need to go and find the sentence that has the word porcelain in it. This was terrible. Create a porcelain basin large enough for an elephant. Okay, let's go up here because I see it again. In order to clean the soiled article, the washerman puts it into a large porcelain basin with water and soap. Okay, as you know, in order to clean the soiled article, the washerman puts it into a large porcelain basin with water and soap. Okay, so if I were going to use context clues, I would look at the sentence in front of this one and behind this one. And anything that can tell me what porcelain means, that's what I'm going to call attention to. Okay, so let's try that one. As you know, continued the king, in order to clean the soil means dirty. Article is something that has to be washed. The washerman puts it into a large porcelain basin with water and soap. Now, if there's water and soap in it, that lets me know that a basin is some type of container. Okay? Now, keep in mind, it says the concern of the washerman is finding a porcelain basin large enough to wash an elephant. But then he remembered your exceptional talents as a potter. What does a potter do? A potter creates pots. Okay? A potter creates containers. So when I go look at my answer choice, I'm looking for something, some type of material to create a container. Okay, so that's how we use context clues. Now, if I want to plug, chug, check, that's a different strategy. What I would do is, I would say the first word is living. Okay, the first word is living. So I would say, in order to clean the soiled article, the washerman puts it into a large living container with water and soap. That doesn't make sense. So the next one is pottery. In order to clean the soiled article, the washerman puts it into a large pottery container with water and soap. Okay, that answer choice makes sense to me, so I'm going to keep it. And then the third one is soiled. So I would say, in order to clean the soiled article, the washerman puts it into a large soiled basin. Now, we said soil means dirty. So you're going to take the dirty thing and put it in a dirty container? So that doesn't make sense. And then the last one is business. So let's try that one. In order to clean the soiled article, the washerman puts it into a large business basin. That doesn't make sense either. So when we plug, chug, check, the one that makes sense is pottery. And we know that was the potter's job. So that was the use of both strategies. First, I did context clues, then I plug, chug, checked. Okay? So let's look at number 3. How does the storyteller's statement about the potter never being seen again help tell us or show us the lesson learned. Okay? So we got to figure out, what is it about this sentence that helps us understand the thing. Now remember, it says the potter felt like he ran out of options, so his only choice was to leave and to not come back. He was supposed to leave and to not come back. Okay? So let's look at our answer choices and see which one makes sense. So does it tell us that the potter is going to start over? Well, not really. Because again, we said that it shows that the potter has run out of options and he doesn't have any other choices. Okay? It shows that the potter will find more work somewhere else. Well, he is going somewhere else, but I'm not certain that he's going to work. He's going to go so he can, first of all, live. He needs to figure out, find somewhere to live, because he's been run out of town because he told a fib. Okay? And then it shows the potter must rethink his plan. Well, he wouldn't leave and not be seen again if he was going to rethink his plan. Rethink means to think again. Okay? He's already failed at that plan, so he's not going to think it over again. And then the last answer choice says it shows that the potter's scheme or his plan to ruin or hurt the washerman only hurts himself. That is exactly the thing. In the end, he didn't hurt the washerman, he hurt himself. Okay? And then the last question says in passage 1, how are the actions, what the characters do, the same? Okay, so what is it that is common about these two characters? The first one says they were to improve the success of the other. We know that's not correct because of the word both. The potter didn't work to improve the success of the washerman. He worked to hurt the washerman. So we're going to scratch that out. B says they both tell the king the truth. Well, we know the potter didn't tell the truth. He told a big old fib. He tried to make it seem like he was going to help the potter, but he really was trying to, the washerman, but he really was trying to hurt him. Okay? And then C says they both think of a clever plan. I'm going to keep that one because the potter came up with a plan that he thought was clever enough to hurt the washerman. But the washerman also came up with a plan too. His plan was, all right, well, if you want me to use my best washing skills, I need you to create a container that's made of porcelain big enough for an elephant. Okay? And then D says they both show the king how wise they are. I don't think that the potter was being wise. I think he was being manipulative because his plan failed. Okay? So the answer choice that I'm going to pick for number 4 would be answer choice C. Okay? So, if you guys have any questions about any of our, I know this video was a little bit longer than yesterday's, but that's the reason that we only do a few at a time. If you have any questions about any of these, you can put them in the dojo. What I would like for you guys to do is to go ahead and continue practicing 5 through, I think it's 11 on your own. The rest of the ones that go with, 5 through 7, part B, on your own. Those are the ones that go with these pieces of text. And then I will upload another video on tomorrow. All right, guys. Happy learning. Love you. Talk to you soon.